I'm here with Mista Ed and Inside Trading producers, musicians,
thanks for having us.
And creators.
It's awesome to be here. Finally, we kind of put it off a few weeks. But,
It's months.
Yeah.
I think we organised this for October last year.
Yeah.
Did we really?
Yeah.
That's insanity.
Well, life gets in the way, right?
Life happens. But we're here now. That's what's important. And very excited to have you guys here. So I know John very well. John's been on the podcast before. We spoke more about his musical journey, especially with touring around the States.
Yep, that's right.
In his band, and then he's in Lost Vessels, but also does a lot of production with hip hop sampling.
Yep.
And then Mr. Ed here, who first time I've met Mr. Ed, and he's a bit of a guru and been around the scene for a few minutes.
I wouldn't say guru. But
You wouldn't say guru?
No, I've just been around a while.
Just been around a while. Just here.
At what point do you qualify for Grandmaster as a turntable?
Grandmaster turntable?
I wouldn't know.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. That's certainly on the cards in the future, though, potentially.
different age. I think you'd probably have to be in the 60s for that, really.
Yeah, in your 70s.
Yeah, triple OG stuff.
Triple OG.
Yeah.
What really got you into loving to scratch, sample, and DJ? Like, do you remember like a song you heard and you were like, "What is that? That's really awesome. I want to try and do that."
So, north of England is where I grew up, and we weren't really sort of exposed to hip hop at all, especially in the early 90s, which is when I was like I've been scratching since about 91.
Damn.
Yeah. So I actually started I've told this story before on another podcast, so anyway, Tell it again. But it's I've heard other people say this, so it must be quite a common thing for kids, from where I'm from, basically. But I used to have a hi-fi turntable with, tape and radio and turntable on the top, and I started scratching on that using the left and right speaker pan for on and off. So it was like mono scratching in one ear.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I was a little kid, I'd have been 91, I'd have been 11, right? So that was the time when piano house was kicking off in the UK, and that's really what we were sort of exposed to at that time, kind of Italio disco sort of stuff. But there was a local DJ, Tony Ross, Bradford guy, and he was scratching on house. And it was at that point on these tape packs that we used to sort of trade at school. It was like, holy shit, what is that? So my first experience with it was over house. So I thought that's just what it was. So for years I was a house DJ, or like collecting house records up until like the late 90s, really.
I didn't even know that about you, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
house was because I don't know too much about the history of house, but where did that? Is it originally from? I thought it just from Europe.
Detroit.
Wait, is it? Is it Detroit?
Yeah,
originally, but there's
right?
a few different strands, and Europe for sure is one of those strands. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Different flavors of it. Like who came up with I guess when I think of like the like the typical boots and cats beat.
It'd be. My understanding is like in the 80s, people like Derek May and so on in Detroit getting hold of like the Roland 808 and the 909 and basically creating beats and making extended long versions of tracks and basically dance floor. It's obviously kind of evolved from disco, which is a 4-to-the-floor beat thing as well. But
there's so many evolutions of house.
Yeah, right? You could spend 3 hours just talking about that.
Yeah, so much. But I'm just trying to get a gauge of it. So like when you heard it. So what was the strand that you heard?
Piano house.
So piano house. But is that from like UK or is that the American?
Europe.
So it's European stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Cool. And lots of English stuff as well, actually. But yeah, it was so I kind of got into it in a roundabout sort of way, really. So it was the late 90s that I understood it was actually a hip hop thing.
Yeah, right.
So suddenly like, oh shit, this is what I've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years. It's like, oh shit. So it kind of transitioned onto hip hop after that, really. But it was it was not the usual way round of people getting into hip hop and scratching from the start.
That's still cool though. So then, like, what then that transition then in the late 90s? What was the artist you heard or the track where you heard like I don't know, that sort of influenced you to?
There's kind of crossovers. So there was that whole hip house thing, sort of 88, 89, I think, really. So a lot of the house stuff back then was people were playing hip house. I don't know if you no.
Imagine like rapping over a house beat,
yeah,
kind of like Punk Pop the Jam, sort of. That would be
kind of
in
like
that vein, right?
Okay.
Yeah, like Doug Lazy, and there's a few other people, and there was certain hip hop records that had house mixes, like the Doc Portrait of a Masterpiece was one I remember getting, and people were cutting over that. But yeah, it's I won't be able to pinpoint it really.
I think it's quite an interesting thing that you started on that, because a lot of people will probably be aware that house is sort of like 4 to the floor. It's like uns, 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 and it's like typically sort of 120 to 140 beats a minute.
It was kind of slower back then as well, right?
And then hip hop is like, from a tempo point of view, about 70 or 80 or 90 beats a minute typically. Yeah. So there's a massive gulf there in terms of your actual technical side. Surely, like how did that transition for you? Like learning to scratch, I guess, slower? Or
it was easier.
Easier.
Yeah. I remember going to a guy's house when I was living in Leeds who was a hip hop DJ, and he was one of the first sort of proper hip hop DJs that I'd met. A guy from Sheffield. And we're sort of comparing notes, what mixes we each had, and all this sort of stuff. And it was my real first time sort of properly cutting over underground hip hop shit, and I was just nailing this guy, and he was just like, "What the fuck?" It was just, it was much easier for me to translate. I think it'd be harder going the other way.
Yeah.
But not that people scratch on house these days.
Sure.
It was. I think the deal really was that in the 90s, a lot of the house DJs were probably old hip hop DJs, right? So they had the hip hop skills, and then they were playing house all of a sudden, and then it was still scratching over house, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I think it's pretty specific to where I'm from, really, or north of England, sort of that, just the timeline of the influence of music for people.
Yeah, well, pretty rich part of the world for music in general, right?
So
maybe not specifically Bradford.
No, definitely not Bradford. Oh no,
in this room you're very well represented.
I'm not hating on the Bradford music scene. It's got its own thing going on, but yeah, I guess north of England you're not really exposed to certain things that other people were,
Yeah. So when did you? I went on your Spotify and had a look, and like the first track you released was in 2004. Was that the first song you'd ever made, or had you made tracks before that?
Yeah. So the first piece of music I made was probably 99, and that got on a. Do you know SoulSeek?
I don't know.
Do you know SoulSeek?
Absolutely. It's like the pre-Napster or around. It's basically Napster.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was
DJs mainly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So SoulSeek were running a competition, which was like a worldwide music production competition, and I entered this track that I'd done, and it was all scratching. And at that point, SoulSeek was primarily EDM stuff, right? So we're talking 2000 probably. And I didn't even think about it, and like came back to SoulSeek like years later and found out I'd come third in this competition, and subsequently had been put out on an album, the SoulSeek compilation album. I think that was like 2001, but I didn't even know anything about it.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So this you'll find on the Spotify, Mista Ed, I'm Mista Ed. That's from that, but that was actually a college project.
Wow.
And I hate it. It's like the most basic of produced things, but that's part of the history of what I've done, and but yeah, so that was the first thing, and then did a track for the Return of the DJ series, which is Bomb Hip Hop USA, Dave Paul. So that was a compilation series of different scratch DJs throughout the year. So the first one had DJ Shadow, DJ Cubase, people like that, and I was on.
I know DJ Shadow.
Yeah. So. I was on the volume 5, and it was kind of towards the end of the series, really, but that was 2003, so I kind of got a bit of recognition in the scene for that, because I'm not a battle DJ, right? So a lot of turntablists and scratchers kind of make their mark in the battle scene, and that's not what I do, so it's always been about more the production side of it, really. So it was nice to get some recognition in the scene and get that sign-in, to say that people respected what I was doing, which is, it was great.
Yeah, it's a pretty esteemed company to be in now.
Yeah, man. No, for sure. But yeah, so first stuff I'd done was probably 99, 2000. Yeah. So it's a while ago.
But I guess like I'm trying to think like the evolution of like from like the early '90s to late '90s of DJing and sampling, like so much. There must have been so much evolution so quickly, right? Like because it was getting used. I guess when I look at like hip hop and that, there was sampling being used in the '80s, but I felt like it evolved so much in the '90s. That was when like the true evolution came in.
Sure.
With the genre.
I think part of that is, I mean, you'd be naive to think it wasn't technology that was behind a lot of that. I mean, samplers in the 80s typically sample times of less than a second sometimes, but you could make an entire album of that if you're creative enough, like in your Wu-Tangs and so on would...
People in the 80s, people were using that kind of more that drum, think Run DMC, right? It was more that sort of drum machine sound. The sampling wasn't as about as, well, maybe sort of starting, I suppose, but it was more kind of electronic really in the 80s, right? But then 90s came about and that whole sort of sampling soul and funk and you know, the sound of it changed, right? Hence that people refer it to the golden era, right, of hip hop. I'm not sure about that really, but that's for me where all the best stuff has come from. People are still doing that sound. I think more so these days. I think it's sort of coming back in a way, but it's yeah.
I know that at that time, I watched like I can't remember which like some YouTube little documentary and just like George Clinton just filing lawsuits left, right, and center against all these producers and DJs because he got sampled so much.
Yeah, I think a lot
all
of
that funk R&B, right?
about it. Yeah.
Didn't the Amen Break guy, the Winstons, didn't they get some royalties recently or something? Like,
I think so, yeah. So if you're not familiar with the Amen break, it's like the most sampled drum break of all time, and it's all over drum and bass and jungle, but it's slowed down and it's in hundreds and hundreds of hip hop songs as well. It's on literally thousands of songs. Beastie Boys. It's
the sound of drum and bass, right?
Yeah, it's the sound of drum and bass. Yeah, you know it. You can Google Amen Break if you want to hear it. But basically, I believe the drummer from the Winstons, which is the sort of group that made it in the 70s, I think, was kind of uncredited for years, decades. And despite the fact that his drum break, his specific drumming was on literally thousands of, top 40 songs.
How do you ever go back on that as well? How do you ever sort of reclaim when it's just so ubiquitous, right?
It's been manipulated and changed thousands of times. Yeah, I suppose so. I thought the other drum beat that was heavily sampled a lot was When the Levy.
Yep, that's When the Levy Breaks. Yeah, the Led Zepp track.
Yeah, I thought that's got taken and ripped apart a bunch too.
Big time. That's in that vein. I think Amen Break would dwarf it in terms of uses. Yeah,
just and used across genres, right? It's not specific to any one thing, is it? You know.
Yeah, there's like Portishead songs that use it. There's all sorts of trip hop and hip hop and all sorts of different genres. It's pretty breaks as well. So like every tempo kind of strata you can imagine, they've used it.
I'd say so.
Yeah, that's wild. I watched a really cool video of because one of my favorite electronic groups is the Prodigy, so I used to love watching how they piece together their songs. And I was just like, oh my god, I did not realize they got
so much going on,
so much happening, and all the way they manipulate the samples and that. And I was like, because I mean that's when at that time period there's a lot of arguments about the sampling. Like, is it music? Are you copying it?
Sure.
Like, is it actually like a viable? I don't know. Thing.
Yeah, that's right. And then, these days it's kind of come full circle when people are sampling the one that sampled the one that sampled the one that sampled, right? So it's this giant, it's the snake's eating its own tail kind of thing in the terms of the sampling world in some ways.
It is so strange though, but I guess at the time it was just so new. I mean, if you wrote a song, right, say you're George Clinton, and then you listen to some rapper, and you're just like, isn't that my guitar? And then you're just like, wait a minute.
Things like horn stabs and stuff are always stolen from things because no one wants to hire a horn section to do 3 notes in your chorus, right? So it's I'll use that one from that random James Brown record. And then you got someone sues you 6 months later.
Hey.
But YouTube still goes pretty crazy on that stuff these days. Not sampling such, but I just think the copyright, because that's still kind of open. What defines copyright? Because people get taken down for covers and things all the time, which I find this is odd.
Well, the Spotify have just introduced, which is quite worrying, I think, in some ways, that the sample credit. Have you heard about this?
No.
So now they've introducing something that happens automatically. I believe that it identifies the things that you've sampled and then credits the songs that you've sampled somehow. So it's the main element or comes from this song.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit.
I mean, the internet's great for like the website Who Sampled. I use all the time to find specific things. What used this, or what has this been used in, or vice versa. I think as technology evolves, you're right. It's like things like Spotify can just identify that on the fly.
Yeah.
There's definitely some of the tracks.
Well, Shazam, right? When that came out,
Shazam,
it's just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
That's cool. But it's that same tech, right?
So yeah, I guess like a hot topic right now, we may as well talk about it, is where music is right now. And even like with DJing and sampling, how's that been affected by AI? Has it been affected by it? And this episode is sponsored by me. Do you struggle with sleeping, and particularly struggle with light and sound while sleeping? I think it's time you get the sleep that you deserve. My business, Infinity Sleep, specializes in sleep well-being products to enhance your sleep quality. I've been using sleep masks and earplugs for the past 3 years to help improve my sleep, and I'm so stoked to finally have ones that have been created for my own sleeping needs. If you would like to learn more about my business, Infinity Sleep, please visit our website, www.infinitysleep.co.nz. By making a purchase, you are directly not only supporting a local Kiwi business, but also this podcast. Use the promo code ONLYSCOTT15% and receive 15% off your first order. Go to www.infinitysleep.co.nz to get the sleep that you deserve.
I think it depends. In terms of production, AI is a useful tool in some ways in terms of stem separation and things like that. If you're wanting to pull a vocal out of something, pull an acapella off a track and then throw it over your remix, not strictly legal sometimes, but that side of it is, it's like any tool can be used creatively or it can be absolutely bastardized, and that's my opinion on it. In terms of the DJing side, I'll let you handle that question.
I don't think it's affected DJing at all at its current point. I don't see how it would. Maybe it would. Maybe in terms of actual sort of DJing sets, maybe, but turntablism and things and scratching and stuff. I mean, people have been able to replicate scratches for a while, right? So there's certain software that does it and kind of emulates it a bit, but it doesn't do it really. And I hear it in people's productions and tracks and stuff where they're not actually, it's not right, and it's most people won't know, right? But it's just like, for me, I'm just like, man, that's just wrong, it's not possible or something, or But yeah, it's interesting. I think that we were just chatting about this actually, the whole Suno thing, you can just type what you want to hear and there's the song at the end of it. It's like, that's crazy, to even think that that's possible is just wild. But I honestly, I don't know, I can't imagine myself sit down there, I know, I'm just going to put on a song that I've prompted.
Yeah, I think if you recognize the fact that you're not really a musician if you're just typing a prompt, that's not what music is. Music is always and has always been artistic as an endeavor, and it's about hard work and it's about practice, and I think turntablism is a perfect example of that. You cannot just buy a turntable and a mixer and like in 6 months become an amazing scratch DJ.
I mean, it takes 4 or 5 years to learn the basics, and then 10 years to sort of at least to get those basics sort of sounding good.
And I think as we're both guitarists, we know that as well, right?
Yeah.
You gotta get
any
sore
instrument,
fingers.
right?
Any instrument, absolutely,
100%.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, we were talking about before as well, and we're having chat outside, is for people who just want the end result, right? Like I just, we talk about the process. You're making the art, the blood, sweat, and tears, what it means. As musicians, and that we, artistic people and other people do care, but there's a lot of people who don't. They just hear like something catchy, or they just hear something like pleasing to their ears as such.
Well, people listen to music for different reasons,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's. Yeah. I think probably, I don't know what the percentage, but say 70% of people just like music and they're not really into it per se. They like it, but they like every single genre and different songs from each genre. And I think the more sort of pinpoint that you get, the more sort of strict that you become with the criteria of what you're listening to, right? So it's like my sort of lens of what I listen to is quite shallow, really, but deliberately so. I'm sort of trying to hone in on certain sounds in my own listening. But I'd never sit and listen to AI generated stuff. I don't think I would. Maybe I do already, and I just don't know. But I think it's a funny one. I can't imagine either. I've said the same thing to you, but I can't imagine going to an art gallery and looking at admiring AI art prints. It's a different thing.
I was in a hospital waiting room lobby about 6 months ago, like a medical center, not a hospital, and they were playing AI music like in the waiting room, and it was so bizarre. And no, like you say, no one noticed. There's like 30 people in there, no one's bats an eyelid, and like I'm within like 2 minutes, I'm like, this is
wrong,
not right.
Yeah,
this music is not. It sounds weird.
Some big brands are using that on YouTube adverts right now. I'm not going to mention them, but there's certain adverts for big businesses now that are sort of selling products on YouTube, and it's AI music. I can tell it is because it's just weird and trippy, and it's like no one in the history of ever producing anything would produce that.
It's a funny world time we live in, and this. When drum machines came, I'm sure there were drummers that were having the same conversation about, is drumming going to die? And, that...
True.
It's cyclical, right? All of these technologies come and people get a little bit weirded out by them, and then they some of them fade, and some of them, there's never going to be a replacement for art and hands-on endeavors and creative people, humanity.
And also people buy into the person too, right? They buy into the brand of the person.
It's a story, right?
Yeah, the artist, what the artist is about, where they come from, what influenced the track. Like, otherwise, it's just I put in a prompt. Like, there's no substance to that.
No, and you can't relate to it. And it's you can to the end product. I was just saying, but it's for me, it's always about, not always, but more about the person and the process of what they do, and particularly for what I'm sat there doing. I don't care about any of the noise of AI. It doesn't make any difference to me at all. The reason that I like the production is the process, right? It's this the end product is the result of the process, and it's the process that's the thing. So
I couldn't agree more. I really love like having an hour or two in the studio to myself. There's really only one person that's going to get anything out of that, and that's me.
Exactly.
I actually don't give a crap about what other people think of the music or the end result, and sometimes it never even sees the light of day, of course. Like most producers, there's a whole folder full of crap that never gets out. But like, it's the process itself, like Ed says, is like the number one thing. It's such a it's such a relaxation, stress relief for me. It's such a fun way that I can have fun and like morph sounds and mess around.
I kind of refer to it as therapy, right?
Totally.
It's always been there for me in one way, shape, or form, and it never won't be, I guess, unless I lose my hearing or my hands or something. But it's it's definitely therapeutic, and one of the only things that I found that can take me away into another mental space, right? The zone, or that flow state sort of stuff. It's
I think just bringing it back to your background, and obviously you've put out a bunch of music solo as well, and now we're doing collab stuff as well, which is cool. The workflow that we have together is quite unique in some ways. We don't really work in the same room together at all, but we hang out and listen to the tracks and talk about everything. But I love squirreling away with my guitar and my synths and stuff in my room, and putting stuff on beats that he's carefully created, and then putting it together. He'll tweak things, I'll tweak things. It's a really interesting way.
Sure.
And it really suits me, because I can get real caught up in, this snare's not right or whatever, and we sort of split the workflow quite a lot, and that's what I love about that process.
Yeah, it's I think the sort of brief that I gave to John at the start was like, don't think about it, just record things as quick as you can.
Yeah, and it's such a good brief, like such a refreshing brief.
Rather than having to fuss over the little details.
Don't tidy it up. Don't even do anything. Just do whatever comes to your mind first, and that's probably the best choice that you're going to make.
Yeah,
even if you don't get the perfect take, it's still the vibe is going to be there, because it's like that instant sort of feeling, and then I end up working with the rest of it. And there's been certain things that we've done when John sent me things, and he's like really struggled with it, and it's like, I can sort of hear that you have, but there's this tiny little bit here that's like maybe something that you weren't even thinking of using, that I've like, that's the bit.
Got that little nugget.
Exactly.
I love that, man. Like 9 times out of 10, you're right. The first time I just go through it and lay something down, it's totally stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
That's the one that we keep.
Yeah.
And I can send him an 18-minute version or 12 different solos over that one thing, and he'll be like, the first one you did's fine. Like, I'm just going to use the first 3/4 of that, and then like tidy it up at the end. And like, I don't have the patience sometimes to like filter through all my different takes and do that. Whereas he's like quite good at just going, "Nut, fresh ears. I'm going to choose that." Like,
I know what you mean. Like I realized I could never be like a producer for a band or even musicians. And even for myself, I'm real bad at it because, like you said, going through the take after take after take after take,
bro.
and then being like, you got like 20 guitar takes of one part. You got more guitar layers. You got vocals, and it's just like.
And I think
I don't have the patience.
You're right, man. It's such a patience game. We do make music, obviously solo as well. We do our own thing, and that's an enjoyable part of what I do as well. But there's like, I don't know how to scratch, and he doesn't know how to play guitar. So when we work, well, as far as I know, you don't. So we don't.
Badly, I can play.
When we work together, we like fill the gap for each other, which is so good. Like, and
you play to each other's strengths.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good combo to have. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit like John.
I think when you're saying that, you know, you wouldn't have the patience to do that, I think that's something that you kind of come to learn. I remember spending years obsessing over the sound of a hi-hat, you know, and spending 2 days just tweaking like a cymbal or something. It's just like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like,
Yeah.
you know, but you can do that, especially early on in the game, and you're really trying to sort of, you have an idea in your head and you're trying to reach that idea, but you'll probably never get that idea, right? So it's, I think being brutal and being quick is something that you learn later on in the game.
Right.
And
after all that experimentation.
Sure, and then it's, because I'm just trying to get things done as quick as I can.
Yeah.
Right? That's sort of, I mean, it's not, you know, it's not the paramount idea, but it's, I find that turning ideas around quickly is the best way to do it, and you end up with the best result. And then the time really is actually dotting the I's and crossing the T's afterwards. So all the minor kind of stupid details that you obsess about that nobody else listens to, right?
Yeah.
So that's the bit that takes me the most time, is finishing them. But getting the idea and the vibe and the structure and the format, that happens quickly. I think we've done certain tracks over an hour or something, you know, send me something and then it's
some of that's the best stuff done. As well. And we've got like plenty in the sort of you know, in the background in the hole that will be coming out this year as well. But that's exactly what I love, is that there's a quick turnaround. We're not overthinking anything. It's just bang, like smash it out. Good to go.
Move on.
just wipe your hands of it. Move on. Yeah.
Well, that's it, and that's, I think that's really important, especially when you're creating stuff, right? Because you can spend so much time working on one thing. It's never going to be perfect. It's not going to be your best stuff. You're best off just doing it, finishing it, drawing a line under it, putting it out, letting people hear it, and then trying to make some better stuff, right?
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, it just reminds me, though, when I was at SAE years ago, and I think the parts I realized I wasn't going to be a producer in that was, like, spending time, say, like, trying to record a drum kit, which, fuck, that's another whole mission.
Yeah.
Like, but then obsessing over, like, oh, where do I put the mics in the room?
Sure.
And, like, spending just, like, 4 hours just trying to find like a good place to put the overheads.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, it's just like
painful.
Yeah. But like, I understand why it's important, but I know, and some people get a really big kick out of that, and I think that's cool. But I realized I'm not that person.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's
your strengths.
It's even a different thing to production, right? That's recording engineer, right?
From recording engineer, but then I guess from a producer point, you want it to sound as good. If you sample something, you want it to sound as
sure.
Have you screwed around with stuff like that before? Like, I don't know if you've recorded someone to get like a little, I don't know, maybe like a piano sample of someone recording it live or something.
I mean, I used to run a studio in the UK for 10 years. It was called Waxworks. Me and my partner DJ Camaro. Gaz Kitcher, shout outs to Gaz as well. But yeah, so that was kind of, it was more of less of a musician's studio and more of an urban music thing. So we did record guitars. I think we did maybe drums once. We weren't really set up for that really, but we had a vocal booth. It was mainly about rap, right? Yep. So rap and DJ sets and that sort of shit, you know. So we've done a lot of recording, but not the recording engineering side of it, and I wouldn't even attempt it. You know, that's not my bag. If I ever needed to do that, I'd get a professional to do it. That's not me.
Yeah.
It's a whole art in itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because I find, I don't know if you find this, John, because you obviously, you kind of oversee a lot of the recordings that John does. He sends you his guitars and like his instrumentation, but I find self-producing really difficult.
Yeah.
I find like I have to have, if I haven't recorded like a song in the studio in a little while, a few years, but I have to have someone else
Yeah.
Like, I can obviously make the demo, can get all the bits, but I'm like, I need someone else to like kind of push me or be like, maybe you shouldn't be so keen on
There's
this
a few
bit,
factors to that, I think. Yeah, one of them is like, you kind of there's definitely like an imposter syndrome, that thing that can happen as well if you're like, I'm not technically a producer, I didn't get my degree in whatever, and like, you know, it doesn't sound like the ones on the radio or whatever. I find like you kind of have to block that noise to a certain extent. Another thing is like time. So that's like obviously the big enemy, is that no one has enough time. And like if you can put an hour or two a week, that's probably going to be a productive thing to do. Even if it's just utter garbage that you're recording for that hour, at least you're getting better at your workflow, and you're learning how to use your DAW and your software and stuff, and your instrument for that matter. It's a practice thing like anything, but yeah, I'd say time and like experiences, like and like don't complicate it. I think would be a really good piece of advice. Like there's a million plugins that you can throw on tracks, and you can like, you know, over engineer the shit out of everything, and like sometimes it doesn't need that. In fact, most of the time it doesn't need that.
A lot of people try and add more rather than remove.
Exactly.
Right. It's just a lot of it's sort of stripping things back, you know.
Yeah.
So like, well, what's do you still DJ live, and do you play many sets or
Nope.
No? I was just curious.
No, I mean, I haven't. I used to DJ quite a lot in the mid 2000s, but I haven't since then, really. So since we opened the studio back in the UK, I had little bits and pieces, but New Zealand did for a while when I first moved here. So I was DJing down at Rakino's, if you remember that.
Yep,
place. A few other spots as well. We ran a hip hop night with Asbo, DJ Jazz Cigarette.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Asbo.
Aaron, yeah. Called Wild Style. That was main concept, and then guests. We did that for I think about 4 years at Cassette 9. But since then, not really. I mean, I would never class myself as a DJ. There's a million better DJs than me. You know, I do DJ sets, but that's not my focus. It's always more been on the production, you know. And in the same way, there's a million better scratchers than me. But I guess the important thing is with anything is doing what you do and doing what you do well, and finding your own voice and your own sound. And I prefer to spend more of my time refining that rather than playing music for people, you know, to say I don't get the kick out of that like other people do. I find it actually quite stressful, and, you know, do you take requests and all that sort of stuff? It's just like, fuck off.
you become a jukebox.
Yeah, and it you know, regardless of what gig you're doing, it happens everywhere, right? So and it is frustrating, especially when you've been booked to play a certain set of a certain style of music, right? And it's just like, well, the night is a fucking hip hop night, right? So have you got, you know, I don't know, Purple Rain or something? It's like, no, I don't. You know, it's a Wagon Wheel, or it's like, no.
Oh, man, shut the fuck up!
It's just like, no.
Oh man, I've DJed a few times as well, and I used to DJ on the radio down Dunedin and stuff, and I've done bits and pieces. I can DJ, I suppose you'd say. I own records and whatnot, but I find it so stressful. Like, I would much rather play to a room of 100 or 1,000 people, for that matter, on the guitar. I feel like 1% nervous doing that, versus like 1,000% nervous, like even just playing to my mates at a party, like when I'm DJing, because half of them are DJs as well, and I can't handle it. Like, I can't handle the responsibility of like looking after a dance floor.
Yeah, it depends what the gig is, right? Like,
Sure.
So I'm definitely not a dance floor DJ, right? You know, I'm early doors, so like stick me on at 6 till 9. Perfect. Yeah. You know, that's sweet. Where people just listening, you know, that's the sort of stuff I would DJ, you know, kind of listening music.
Sure.
You know, but it's DJing clubs and stuff. Not for me, you know, just leave it up to the guys that do that thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because even with this, I've never done DJing. I screwed around on my mates, like CDJs and stuff a while back, and I was like, man, this is hard ass. I was like trying to get the tracks right. I'm like, oh no,
that's true, man.
There's part of my brain that doesn't, unless I obviously spend hours and hours and hours doing it, but I'm just like, nah, it's not.
And ironically, it's never been easier as well. Like, there's like sync buttons, and there's like filters and EQs that just kind of handle heaps of the heavy lifting these days on modern consoles.
Yeah.
But just knowing you'll sit inside out as well, and all the tempos, and I'm just like, bro, no, I don't have that IQ for that. Yeah. But it's funny, they've mentioned like about like just playing requests. hilarious because in a cover band, it's kind of the same.
Sure.
Like, you're playing, like, we play all the bangers.
The actual whacking wheel as well.
Soul
just kill
destroying,
me, bro. That's
Soul
why I
destroying.
stopped doing it because, well, there's a few reasons I stopped doing it. So just before I started this, but part of the reason was like I just can't handle like just the drunken fucking mods.
Oh man, yeah.
And by the end, and also like I was like, is this really worth it? Is this what I want to do with music? So I kind of was like, I mean, nice to get paid. Hey,
yeah,
full,
the pay's good.
It's
for
good that,
covers,
but-
man. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'd much prefer be sitting in the studio on my own. You know,
that's kind of
like,
what I
that's-
learned about myself too.
Yeah.
And I love like and also like it was sort of affecting me making music. I still haven't kind of got no like making my own stuff because I was just always doing covers and I was like
That's the thing, man.
rinse and repeat.
Like,
and like
I found the same thing when I was in a covers band, and it was so artistically like bankrupt that I was actually I was actually in negative. You know what I mean? Like, because I'd come home and I wouldn't be creative. I didn't want to do music.
I don't want
at
to touch
home.
the instrument.
So I was actually
pissed off with
losing
yeah, because for me, I think mentally,
nothing wrong with covers bands. I'm not hating on covers bands, but
This is how you
not
felt,
for
yeah.
me. Not
'Cause
for me.
I felt that too because when I look at my guitar or something, I'm like, oh, that's work.
Yeah.
Sure.
It becomes a job. It's probably
Yeah,
as you
that's
do
it.
DJing. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, but now my decks. Now
Yeah.
it's a job.
Yeah, well,
You know?
I guess something like that, right? Yeah, it's akin to it somehow. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
But yeah, I think you know, it's very difficult to try and make a living out of music in any way. So if people can and people can do it, like I know some people would do like guitar teaching, cover band, music lessons, and then have their project as well.
Yeah.
And full respect people who can do that.
Yeah, man.
I don't think I can.
That's,
No.
I mean, that's the way to do it, right? If
Yeah.
you're working at, unless you're really bloody lucky and, you know, you're at the top of the tree and you've got a massive following or something, right? Which most people don't, right?
Yeah.
It's just like you got mad hustles. Like the full-time DJs that I know are the hardest working people ever. They're just constantly hustling for gigs and like chasing things. And it's just like certain things fall through, finding a new residency, or it's just like, damn, man, you know, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah,
and then there's
hustle.
the drinking that goes involved with
Yeah.
it too.
Late
You know,
nights,
it's just like,
yeah.
exactly, you know, it's a lot to
and
deal with.
Yeah, and the other thing is like all like the the late nights like stack up a bit, and if it's
100%.
like you know,
Fuck yeah.
and it, like your lifestyle just becomes not a healthy one.
No.
Yeah,
if
absolutely,
that's
man.
your your life.
I mean,
you know?
we met through, like, in a roundabout way, mutual friend called Flex, Flex Webster. Shout out Flex. Crazy good DJ, amazing DJ. But like his, in terms of his like hours of work and stuff, because we were living together and stuff, was when I lived in Sandringham, and like it was outrageous. Like when I was on a 9 to 5, and I'd come home, and so he'd be getting out of bed, and he'd go to work at like 9 o'clock p.m. and come back at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Like it was just such a like, and full credit if you can do that, man. That is like a slog, but an amazing DJ, but like not for me.
I mean, yeah, the thing for Flex is that's what he does, right?
born to do it, eh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, what choice do you have? that's what you do.
Some people are born for that, right?
Yeah, exactly,
And so that's
yeah.
the calling. That's the
Yeah.
calling. Like I still miss like I played live last year at Ukrainian's last gig. That was really fun.
Yeah, nice.
And I jumped on for a song. I was like, I did like miss just
So-
like being on stage and also playing like original music. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is really. I did miss it a bit.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
beforehand, I'm like, you know, a little stressed. I'm like, oh, been a minute. Am I gonna trip myself up over a cable? Like all that dumb
So
shit.
much logistical shit. To
But
think
I'm just
about, eh?
like, nah. But then you just got to go with the flow, and then it's like it's totally fine. But
Yeah, man. No, I'm lucky. I think we're both lucky enough to have a passion that we have identified in a long time ago, young, you know. Music's always been that for me. I'm lucky to have a few different avenues, my full-time job, and then my sort of punk rock band. Got a gig tonight.
Oh,
and
wicked.
then the kind of production side of it, and all sorts of different other random sort of fingers and
Yeah,
pies and stuff.
you're busy.
I'm a busy guy.
I love that though. I love that you're so. I think it also. I want to talk to you guys about this. Is like being more musically diverse is more accepted. Because I don't know, like I just remember, like even when you were teaching me guitar lessons, like people was like rock, and then I listened to rock, I listened to hip hop.
Yeah.
That's it. I listened to
That's
house,
high
I
school
listened
though,
to
right?
house. That's
Like,
high school.
I was the same, man.
Yeah.
I didn't like hip hop at high school. It was probably your Cypress Hills and stuff that got me in eventually. Like, but yeah, I really didn't vibe with it. I didn't like reggae either, and then I joined a reggae band. And
Yeah.
was in that for 12 years.
Yeah, that was a sick band. I still got that CD somewhere.
man.
The
Yeah.
Yubitsu CD.
Yeah.
That was cool as.
Sure, well.
But did you? Because for you kind of already started in house and then went to hip hop. But I guess I feel like maybe this is just my assumption, in the producing world, you kind of have to be more open to lots of music because you're sampling and creating things from so many different styles.
That's
my assumption, or am I wrong?
I mean, for me, I'm trying to hone it in, right? And there are people who produce multiple styles of music, but I don't know. I can't think of any majorly successful ones that cross so many different boundaries or genres. Really, I don't know about that one. I think maybe for listening, but for me, I'm trying to hone it in further. Trying to get more pinpoint,
But I guess like with like say for example what you're sampling in that, we're talking about taking a horns part, taking a guitar part, taking a drum part. There's a lot of different music you got to listen to find those those parts and those bits.
I see what you're saying. Right? Okay. Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, anything can be sampled, right?
Yeah. That's the fun thing about it. It's why I love it. You can sample literally anything, like whether it's like you tapping on a glass in your kitchen, or the birds outside, or like fucking playing a slide whistle or whatever. Like a timpani. I made a track with some timpani recently.
I think just the fact that there's I'm just about closing in on a project called Turntable Music, which is all scratched. Everything's the whole thing is scratching. But yeah, so some of the filler in samples, things from like YouTube channels and things that just nicked little bits of spoken word, and I think the available resources with the internet now is just infinitesimal, right? Yeah. So it's more, there's almost too much to go.
There's so much.
Yeah, there's a good example of that. I am doing a track at the moment, it'll be out later this year. It's one of the ones I sent you recently, and it's called Just For You. And I basically just Googled, hey, are there any like movies that have the line of dialogue, "This is just for you"? And I found a couple of movies, and one of them was perfect, and one of them was like a random animated Disney movie from like the 50s or something. Like, found a tiny little snippet. It's like less than a second long of this woman going, "This is just for you." And like, I sort of cut that apart, fucked with it. Probably shouldn't have mentioned that it's Disney. Now I'm going to get sued. But it's completely different now, and I'm like, wicked. That fits it bang on.
Yeah, there you go.
It's so good. Like,
growing up and starting producing, the only choice I had was to sample records, right? Because the internet didn't exist, so you only had a record collection to go at, right? It's just like, and records were cheap back then as well. They're not like $70 and $50 and $20 a second-hand ones like they are now.
They're crazy now.
Yeah, they're crazy. Yeah. I remember certain record shops in Bradford, just big like kind of warehousey type buildings. There's piles and piles of records, like 50p, a pound. Just so much gold in there, like thousands, tens of thousands. Just like, wow, but that was a choice back then. So you were kind of limited to what you could find on vinyl to sample, right? But
you can only use what you've got to make something unique. Or
you can't. Track. You can't make sounds up, can you?
Yeah, and I know that like in some ways, and I think we've talked about this before, and I've certainly heard it before from various people. But the smaller your creative limits are, the more often the more productive you are, like those emu samples, emu samplers from the late 80s or early 90s is a great example.
Limited.
Yeah, absolutely. A second and a half memory, right? That would be insane now. You can store hours of memory on a sample, but like people making tracks and then making albums using second and a half long samples, and some of those are like some of the greatest hip hop albums of all time.
Sure.
Yeah,
that is really interesting, isn't it? Like having a limited resources to create,
and real crunchy lo-fi kind of 8-bit sort of sounding samples.
You only got so much bit.
Yeah, man. Those Wu-Tang albums, all the like highs are rolled off, and it just sounds dirty as grimy as fuck.
Look what people do with the 404s, right?
Yeah, that's right. The 404 samplers, those little kind of
like Spell. Spell's amazing on that thing, right? It's just whole sets with it. It's like a tiny little thing. It's like so cool.
What I want to know now is like, what's the most amount of tracks you've worked with inside like when you've made a song?
It's a really good question.
What's the most amount? I'm picturing like 200. I don't know why.
Dude, what was that? What was that track you played me on YouTube, I think it was, and it's like you doing like the record, almost like the world record or something, number of samples in one song, or scratches rather.
I haven't come across. It's not the world record, but I haven't come across
insane amount.
I haven't come across one bigger, but it took me a year and a half of my life to finish.
How do we find what do people type in to find that?
Unfinished Business.
Unfinished Business, Mista Ed.
Yeah, so that was a release on a album called Cuts of Culture. through Eclectic Breaks Records and Turntable Radio. Yeah, Eclectic Breaks, Turntable Radio back in 2003. But yeah, that must have been hundreds. It must have been hundreds. Must have been. I mean, have a listen. But it's nearly 5 minutes long, and it's kind of a story track, but all told in scratching.
It's incredible, man. You've got to check it out.
Every single sample is a piece of record. It's all from records, right? So again, Serato didn't exist back then, so the only choice you had was your record collection, right? So but yeah, it took me a year and a half of my life you get halfway through a certain section, and then I couldn't find like a rhyming part to go with it, or it's like you get sort of stuck on that bit. You go to a friend's house and he'd listen, suddenly find something on his record that you'd be like, oh, that'll go there. Can I borrow this? I'll bring it back tomorrow. And then it'd start again because you found a link a bit. But look, it must have been hundreds. It must be hundreds. Must be. Yeah, hundreds of records at least. Yeah,
God, that's the love of the game right there.
Yeah, man. Such a pastiche, like such an absolute like quilt work of samples from like 1,000 different sources.
Yeah.
Just having such a ear for that detail as well. I find that pretty amazing. Just to be like that 1 second, like like you can just be like, oh yeah, like you piecing together all those tracks.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I'm just like, wow.
No, and I've heard people do things bigger, but with more people. I think it's, if you've each done like say a 5-minute track with like wordplay, scratch stuff, or put it together, that you've got maybe 4 or 5 DJs sharing the work, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a labour of love, that one. I haven't gone back to trying anything else like that again since. I was like, no, I'm done. That's that. I don't need to go back and do that again. But I guess the new turntable stuff that I'm doing at the moment is kind of a bit of a nod to that, really. But it's more of an album. So there's 7 tracks. I've not gone into quite as much detail, but there's 7 different tracks rather than 1 track.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So when can we expect that, bro?
No, I'm not sure. I'm trying to finish it off now, but there's so much going on.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time on the road with my other work, so
it's true. I've been trying to get him to do cuts on a couple of tracks for a few weeks.
I've been traveling pretty much consistently for about a year now, which is crazy.
And check out this really cool scratching session from Mista Ed. He does a bit of a wicka wicka for us. It's really cool, so check it out. I'm sorry guys, but we ran into a similar issue that I did with a couple of podcasts ago. One of my cameras decided to shit the bed again. It was great. We've done 3 podcasts this year, and twice we've had the camera shit the bed. I figured out what the issue is now. It's a bit of some of the gear needs a replacement, but the rest of his podcasts are going to be done in audio only. It was a great rest of the podcast with with Ed and John. So yeah, listen to the rest because these guys have awesome musical knowledge to give over and share with us.
Me and John have got an album together nearly as well now. So there's two sort of
forward
album.
to hearing that.
Yeah, it's
cool.
The second one's better, I think. But yeah, there's two album projects coming, two different things, and then a few of the rap projects that I've got doing as well. So there's quite a lot under the hood.
Yeah.
You know,
There'll definitely be,
is.
absolutely, man. Yeah, there's definitely going to be something out from my end, probably with a fair amount of input from him by around September, and hopefully by the end of the year, a little bit more as well. So we'll kind of drip feed it out.
Well, I reckon there'll be a big chunk all of a sudden.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like the Millennium Jazz thing, right? Like that kind of just happened. That was a label that EP got signed to, which was a pretty big deal.
We've got the track coming out on Reliable Source 2 as well.
Yes.
The
Is that the vinyl one?
Yeah, Village
so
Live.
pretty exciting that.
Yeah. Oh, you are kidding. That's fine.
That's the phone on silent that we...
Damn, leave it in.
Just to prove, I did have it on silent.
It's all good.
There's some vinyl coming out as well.
Yeah, on Village Live Records, based in Europe. Reliable Source is, I guess, like a compilation album of different beat makers from around the world, and we've managed to sneak on with one of ours as well. John doing his guitar and bass thing. That was actually the track that we were talking about earlier that you were like, I can't get anything on it, but I found that one little bit that made the whole thing work. But yeah, no, it's a great little track. That should be out towards the end of the year. Hopefully get some vinyl copies in New Zealand, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mista Ed, Mista Ed, and Inside Trading. Keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
Thanks for spelling it out.
Have to, bro.
Yeah.
I want to also ask, like, for your experience now, still doing with your producing, what's been like the biggest piece of technology maybe in the last, like, what's been the biggest piece of technology that's come along that's changed the game for what you do?
I'm using the same thing.
Same thing?
Yeah. So I use Cubase. And,
okay.
And that's it. So I don't have any other technology. I guess the updates in the software is something, but in using the turntables, you wouldn't ever record turntables into like an MPC, for example, which is what a lot of people use for hip hop production, right? You wouldn't do that, right? So it's for me the multi-track recording thing. Cubase, the original music production software, right? Is from and
1200. Well, and turntables, right? If you want to make old school music, you keep it old school.
Yeah, of course.
So,
just keep the turntables with records.
Yeah, just multi-track recording. There's been quite a lot of updates in Cubase because I had a 10-year break from production, so I've only just picked it up again. 3 years ago. But yeah, the updates in Cubase are pretty amazing. Some of the time stretching type of stuff and pitch correction and stem extraction, and there's quite a new set of tools to use within it. But I wouldn't say there's anything brand new turned up in my sort of workflow at all. Really, it's just the same. Things have got easier internally in the software, but yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, has it like helped you like streamline it better, like to save time on, I don't know, little bits?
Definitely, even just processing power, right? So my first production PC had 128 meg of RAM.
You hit render, and it takes like probably 15 minutes to render.
I remember doing one. I think it might have been Unfinished Business, and it was just I was trying to do loads of different sort of bounce downs in one, and it was like about an hour, and then it went about 2 hours, and then it went up to about a day. I was like, I've never seen that before. I was like, cancel it, and then it just crashed.
Yeah, it crashed.
Like, but yeah, I think just processing power is definitely helpful, and you can run different instances and lots of plugins and stuff if you want, and mastering stuff all at the same time, which is super handy. I think just the technological advancements and the ability of computer to handle different processes is probably the biggest help, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a guitarist and a keys guy, so I'm going to shout out my Casio keyboard because I love it, and I play a CTS-1, and it's dope. And they've just they sound real beautiful. I'm not like a super technical kind of piano virtuoso piano guy, but I love my electric pianos, and I love like just real nice warm kind of tones. So yeah, just keep it old school as well.
Yeah, man, that's it. And I'm not as forward thinking as other people might be. I'm kind of set in my ways, right? So there's people I know that see getting all sorts of new gear and stuff, and it does make a difference to them. But I'm not doing it for that really. I'm just trying to. I'm doubling down on what I do, right? And yeah,
I've learned when making music for him and like putting guitars in particular on things, I've got like my big pedal board, like a lot of guitarists, and like, you know, compressors, distortions, your big muffs, your like reverbs, choruses and stuff. Got like a wicked like avalanche run, like kind of delay reverb at the end, which is just gorgeous. Make everything sound amazing. I like get something sounding real mint, send it to him, and he's like, "Oh no, I just need it dry, bro." Do not want the effects. And I'm like,
but it sounds so good.
If you like, kind of, it's real hard to play guitar and record guitar with no effects as well. It sounds like dry as fuck.
Yeah. I remember the first time I ever recorded an acoustic guitar in the studio, like properly, and it was a slower song. Holy shit, that was like one of the hardest recording sessions I've done in my life. It's so naked.
Yeah.
Because when it's a bit faster and like picking, you can kind of like...
But
you get the finger style going and a nice clean recording.
I reckon like if you're a drummer, it's harder to play a slow beat in time than it is to play like a medium fast one. Like it sounds counterintuitive, but it's really hard to play a real consistent slow beat in the pocket. Like it's real difficult.
And never go out of time and like perfectly aligned. Yeah, it's it's that's hard. And I found that with like doing the acoustic guitaring, like it's just so naked. Have you done much for acoustic guitar recording?
Quite a bit. Yeah, got a couple of nice mics and a decent guitar as well. So I'm like, I don't have like a treated room or anything, so I'm the same. Like I kind of obsess over like the sound initially a little bit, and then I'm like, oh, what will come kind of thing, and then just sort of, you know, you're right though, the less happening in especially if you're just doing like fingerstyle plucking or something on an acoustic, there's so like you hear all the string noise,
you hear all the buzz.
Yeah, all the buzz. Like, oh, that E string's a little bit slightly out of tune or whatever.
Yeah.
No, it's real. It strips it away. Definitely, it's really it shows all the mistakes. Yeah.
There's always the thing. Who would you say right now in your world with production or sampling? Is there any like new artists or people out there doing something really cool that you like?
Vanilla is somebody I've come across recently who's really good. I think he's new to me. He's obviously been around a while, but I think he's got that modern sound, and his mixed down sound really nice, musically really good. As we've just mentioned, Spell's doing some really cool stuff. You know, every time I see Spell do stuff, I'm like, whoa.
What kind of genre does he do? Is it same like the scratching hip hop, or is it sort of like?
Well, he's a DMC champion. From New Zealand.
That's like the Turntable World Champs.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Turntablism.
Yeah. So Spell's a bad man.
Yeah,
I think he's
battle DJ.
Yeah,
incredible DJ.
Yeah,
cool.
But also wicked musician.
I've never watched a battle DJ.
Yeah, right.
It's awesome, bro.
That's
They
cool.
do the spins, they do the flare. It's like amazing.
Sounds
Like all real crazy. Like sometimes it sort of sounds like it's not in time. Sometimes, like from a strictly like rhythm point of view, but it's all like, oh man, it's crazy. It's hard to describe. But it's like often like, what are they, like 2-minute little routines or something?
6 minutes usually. Yeah. Well, it depends, but yeah, the world finals are in 6-minute blocks. But Spell's been a good move from his turntablism stuff to more production now. I mean, there's so many people.
I'll shout out Diala, I think is how you say it. Dyalla. That's a Kiwi female producer. She's like amazing, kind of lo-fi, kind of downbeat hip hop vibes. It's
Nice.
fucking awesome stuff. So I think she's Auckland based as well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Doing some big things on Spotify and the rest of them as well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because as I was listening to like your tracks, I just put on like the Spotify playlist, and I was like, I love listening to this when I'm working. It's like,
Oh, dope.
it's so nice to like listen to. Like the scratching is like energetic enough where I'm like, oh yep, and that kind of keeps my brain kind of firing.
Yeah.
Right.
You know. So no, I would I'd like to get some more of that stuff.
Yeah, I like one of the big pleasures for me, like I said, like getting into the studio for an hour or whatever. I love bouncing it down just before I go to bed, and then putting it on my or emailing it to myself and listening to it in the car on the way to work the next
Yeah.
day. That's like
yeah.
a big thing for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck yeah. Like, I made this last night. It's like, it doesn't come any fresher than that.
Yeah,
way,
that's-
right? It's fucking awesome.
I think well, you need to listen to what you're doing on as many different systems as you can, right?
exactly.
And I think, especially these days, does it sound good on your phone? And as shit as it is, because people aren't listening to stuff on speakers, right?
Yeah.
They're listening
Yeah.
to on
Yeah.
UE booms or mostly on the phone or like streaming it somewhere or whatever,
Yeah.
like portable speakers
Yeah,
and stuff.
sound bars and stuff.
Yeah,
Or just no soundbar, just a TV, just
Exactly.
raw dog
100%.
TV. Yeah.
I know people that do that. People that are into music listen to stuff on the TV. I'm like, hey, really? You know, it's like where your speakers. It's like, it's just easier on the TV. I guess so. You know, which is
It's
fair enough.
convenience, the convenience.
convenience, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But I think it's like, 'cause
Yeah.
if it translates to your phone, that's where a lot of people will be listening to, and there is a certain thing that works on a phone and doesn't, right? So it's like you got to test that first. I
Yeah.
think, as crap as that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember like the first time I recorded in a studio, and then I was like listening on like some like the first Samsung Galaxy or something, and then it was just like, what the fuck, you gotta put headphones on, you're not gonna get it otherwise. I'm like, yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, for sure. And then later on, I'm like, yeah, but everyone just listens to it out
That's
of their
it.
phone. Not everyone's gonna have headphones.
No,
Not everyone's
and-
gonna
and-
have a nice soundbar. Not everyone's gonna have nice speakers.
Nah.
You know,
And people
not
don't really
everyone's got
care
that.
either. It's just want,
And that's
just
the
want
other
on this
thing.
one, the vibe of it. What's the vibe? They're not listening to the mix down or like how clear it is or any of that stuff. You know?
Yeah,
It's
it's like
just
listen to that scratch at like 1:32, like
Yeah,
nailed
it's
it.
just-
I can hear the crispness. Like,
It's
they
not,
don't
it's not what
care.
it is. Yeah, they
Nah.
don't give a shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's interesting, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that level of but yeah, I find these days I'm a lot more like kind of detached from it. But every now and again there'll be some sound that captures my eye that I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's really cool. I was listening to a Chinese rapper,
Cool.
what's his name? Sky the God. He got kind of like viral a bit, but he had this really cool like what's the Chinese violin called that they play? The erhu, I think.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the name of it. And he had like a hip hop sample. What I loved about it because it had like some kind of ancient traditional Chinese instruments, and it has really cool like little
Man.
bit in it. And I'm like, that's sick.
Yeah.
But I don't have that happen very often. When I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Unique
Yeah, nice.
kind of textures, eh?
I love it when people do that. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like just something that I wouldn't, if I not that I make music like that, but I wouldn't in my day to day life hear those sounds or those timbres. You know?
Yeah,
and I'm
sure.
like, that's
Totally.
cool. I gotta gotta level up and find other sounds. Have you ever tried to play around with I don't know, listening to music from other parts of the world and grabbing samples?
100%. Yeah. So
Yeah,
the EP
cool.
that we did, the track Isolation, the Flutes.
Yes.
So it kind of, when you listen to it, it kind of sounds like I've just sampled a section, but I haven't. I've sampled the flute and then played the flute, but on a sampler.
Yeah,
So it's
right.
like there is that line doesn't exist. I've played it, but then it's
It's got a real mystical sound to it. Eh?
yeah. That's from a recording called Melodies for Japanese Flute and Harp.
Dope.
And I've had it years, and I've used it for other things as well. So it's like a really nice library of different harps and flutes, all separated, right? So you can
Nice.
get really nice, clean sections of it.
Yeah.
It's there's especially for things for sampling for sure. Sampled some Russian stuff a while ago. The one that we did for The Day You Never Returned, right?
Yes.
There was a section in that's from like some Ukrainian choir.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Yeah.
Just one little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a cool track as well. You find that sometimes they get like put on random playlists if they have that vibe as well.
Yeah.
Like someone will find it or whatever, and it'll get submitted to. It'll end up on like Deep Oriental Calm or something like that. Like some weird like slightly obscure like Japanese lo-fi beats
Yeah.
or something.
Music to do your shopping to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they get
yeah,
real
yeah.
niche, eh?
Yeah.
Music for when you're home from your uncle's house, holding a cigar, and there's a $20 note in your.
Oh, then.
So
Yeah,
specific.
that's what you listen to. Yeah. Yeah, there's that a Japanese guitarist. He makes like I forgot his name. I can't remember his name, but he's very big now on YouTube. But he will title his stuff like that.
Yes,
He'll be like,
I think I know the guy. He makes like little 1 minute like
yeah,
crazy
like 1 minute like crazy
math
guitar
rocks and
bits.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he's like, I just like when you get home after you got beaten by your dad or something. It's like, it's like, wow, bro. But like I get it what he's trying to do.
That's
there,
pretty
but,
cool. Way.
But yeah, like it's a vibe now. Like so it's interesting. Like I find now like I'm just so on the digital, like listening to music on. I'd love to do the vinyl, but I don't have the money. Because that's the hobby. When I have a bit more money, I know for a fact I will get addicted to buying records. But
that's so expensive.
The black crack.
And I think so. I think I'll get into it. So right now, but when I listen on like Spotify and stuff, I go on like those like song radios and that, and you just get so it's such an interesting way to like listen to it, or like your daily mix, or the vibes that they can curate for you. Like it's kind of crazy how the algorithms work, to be honest. Like they're so advanced.
Amazing, really.
I've noticed it's like, I think it's based. I've noticed recently that it's like, I'm sure when I was driving over the Harbour Bridge last Friday afternoon, the same exact song came on, even though I'm on a playlist with 400 other songs and I'm just randomizing it. But I'm like, is this noticing that at 4:30 and that I want to hear this? I didn't skip this last week at 4:30 in the afternoon.
So now it thinks you want to hear it again.
I don't know.
Music for driving over the Harbour Bridge.
That's a new playlist.
They fucking nailed it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, but obviously Spotify gets a lot of hate with the back end and the sort of management of it and all that sort of.
Yeah.
But technologically, I think any of those things you can't front on it. It's worked, right? It's taken over. And
I agree with like the management side of things and that I agree, but I mean the technology is just,
that's what I mean.
It's so good.
It does work, right?
Yeah, and the catalog on Spotify, like I know I fully respect other ones. I was listening to like Tidal at a friend's place, but the thing is that even like trying to find some local artists I know, or trying to find even like medium successful artists, I can't find them.
Yeah,
right.
The library's just not as extensive.
Yeah, right.
Interesting. That's the other thing. Okay. Like Spotify just has fucking everything, and I guess YouTube music too.
Yeah, YouTube music. Yeah.
So, but that's the thing where I'm like, I would love to find something else, but can you match the platform, the level of sophistication of the algorithms?
Yeah, I agreed. I mean, obviously, it's not the platform to support the artist.
No,
but
it's definitely not.
Platform
but
to
access.
Access and exposure. Exactly.
Yeah. I don't really spend much time on Spotify, really. I'm still an MP3 guy, which is, still download MP3s.
Straight up old school.
Is it YouTube to MP3? Or
No. No, I do my piracy.
There we go. Keep it on the D-Lo.
It's funny because if you are a DJ, or if you know you're DJing and you go to a club and someone's playing ripped MP3s, it's so obvious, bro.
Yeah, you can hear it.
It sounds like shit.
And
again,
like some distortion in the background.
50% probably of the people there wouldn't even know.
No.
But man, the resolution, once you hear it,
the artifacts, right?
Big no way.
Yeah, massive no. I've seen a big DJ came to Auckland that I got tickets for and everything. I was really excited to go and see him. I'm not going to say who it was, but it was in like a video set and it was all YouTube video rips, but he hadn't replaced the audio, so it was just really bad. Like, it just ruined my whole sort of idea of this guy. I was like, oh man, and it was like he didn't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Lazy.
Big tunes, and fair enough. The video is going to look like it looks, but you could at least replace the audio very easily. You know, it's just like, just can't be bothered. It's just like, man, like whatever. Yeah. But it's.
That just reminds me of this memory that just came to me when I used to work at Sky City in the entertainment department, and I used to be like a soundie there and that. And I remember like we get DJs who come in, and I'm just like, every time I'd be like, how, like most of them, all of their masters are up to like 10.
Okay.
Redlining.
Yeah.
Redlining, and every time it's just like, fuck me days, guys.
Again,
like,
huge faux pas if you actually know DJing.
I was like, oh man, we turn it up right with the speaker system. Like we don't have like, you can see the the subs and everything. But,
it's
and then sometimes you got to
hearing.
EQ it from, because I EQ it from the desk and that. But I'm just like, their bass, it's like 10 treble 0.
I don't think people realize how much like preamps in mixers and consoles and stuff make a difference as well. Like redlining a cheap like $300 or $400 mixer, it sounds like garbage.
Yeah, it was such a headache, but it happened so often. Like it was just all the time.
Loudness was right. People,
Loudness was,
that's basically, isn't it? It's that modern twist. Yeah. It's sort of a problem in itself, really, because you want to kind of create your mixes and masters as loud as possible, but you don't, to try and compete with the loudness of everybody else's.
You want dynamics as well.
But you want dynamics too, and it's you can always turn it up, but It's just the way it's gone, right? And it's not even that it is actually louder; it's the perceived loudness. It's it's the same volume, but it's just the perception of loudness, which is a crazy thing, really. But yeah.
Yeah, I find that like because with radio, like, it's also depending what you put it on. Because let's say after you've finished mastering a track, you can do compressors, limiters, all that stuff, and it's like, all right, this is like, sounds good, it's loud enough, cool. But now when you put it on the platforms, they also now compress it and then up it, and you goes to radio, and then they do it like compress it and up it the volume and then squash it. And I was like, what happened to my song?
Yeah, totally, man.
There's something else you got to think about. Yeah, like when you, I guess if that's it's your job or something.
Certain genres that is like sounds horrific. Like it sounds really, really bad. And like again, if like classical music is a really good example, and jazz, like you don't want you need dynamics.
Sure.
And you listen to a record from the 70s or something, and it's like, man, the lows are so low. Like, and there's so much nuance that you can hear, and I actually need to turn my volume up so I can hear the detail. Whereas like put on like a Chili's album or something, like, and it's just like, fuck, I'm being blasted. Like I'm just like everything's squashed.
Yeah, well, like drum and bass, right? Modern
drum and bass. It's just
if you look at the waveform, it just looks like a big black sausage.
Yeah, it's just like it's huge rectangles, like meme. Yeah, because that's the other like dynamic range. Like it's interesting, like listening to when I was like stuff from like 70s and that, and it's just like there's so much range.
Yeah.
So much range. And like I think now we're just, and also like the other things is to the grid, right? So I mean, just in general, I just not too sure about the sampling production world as much, but I know in like like recording music, like everything is now just tight to the grid, so all music is perfectly aligned, which is something like where it's like
so with
robotic.
One thing I learned, once I got into kind of hip hop production and stuff was about swing. And you're absolutely right that when you make a lot of electronic music, it's aligned to a grid, and it's like, you got, if people aren't sure what we mean by a grid, if you can imagine like, a song being divided into bars, and each bar having typically 4 beats of the bar, and then 4 times 4 is 16, and then that would be your A part, and then the second 16 would be maybe the B part or whatever, the chorus potentially or whatever. And obviously it's in groups of 4, 16, 32, 64, and so on. When you put beat, say I'm putting a beat to a grid, and I put a kick at 1 and a kick at 3, and then I put a snare at 2, so it's like doom, kick, doom, whatever. If I just put that as a robotic grid and I just stick it into a grid, it doesn't sound right. Like when you're making hip hop, it just sounds like a robot is making hip hop. So you have to add what's called swing, and the MPC, which is a music production center that came out in sort of the 80s and 90s, the 90s, I think.
I think it was originally in the late 70s.
No way.
I think so.
Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. But that had a feature which was called MPC Swing. So instead of being at 100% perfectly on the grid, you could deliberately move certain notes or beats or parts of a track, typically the rhythm, so that it would add like an artificial sort of swing to it, which sounds like a human is playing the beat. So you can turn a robot sounding beat into like a nice hip. When you hear that MPC swing, it's a certain percentage that is exactly sounds right. That's hip hop. Like that sounds exactly like a hip hop beat. So that was like a huge learning curve for me, learning that. Like a big like light bulb moment. It's like, fuck, no wonder it sounds like a robot before. Now it's like actually sounds like a beat.
Especially when you're doing it. What software do you use?
I use Studio One.
Studio One,
yeah.
Right.
I mean, like you say, if you're just sampling a beat itself and throwing it on the grid, it's a different story. But if you're making the beat from scratch, I make the kick, I make the snare, I make the hi-hats. If I just throw that all onto a grid, it sounds like shit. Whereas if I add a little bit of swing to it, it starts sounding like a drummer is actually playing that beat, which is a massive difference. Like,
yeah. Well, I guess you've really got to think about that when you're using multi-track, right?
Big time.
You've got to do it yourself, right? But yeah.
Nah, that's interesting. Sweet, guys. I think that's kind of all I've really got for you, fellas. Any final words?
Or? No worries, man. Thanks for having us. Keep an eye out for our stuff.
All sorts of stuff.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff coming.
I'm keen.
And come find us on the usual places. Mista Ed. You can find Mista Ed, Mista Ed. And I'm Inside Trading. And we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, bro.
That was awesome. Sweet. Thank you, boys.